Dear friends, the year is a special one, marking 80 years since the first book in the Railway series. Since then, we've been introduced to many wonderful, funny and interesting stories from the island of Sodor, as well as all the engines who starred in them. I recall hearing a time when our dear Gordon took part in a similar celebration, one where he was given an immense responsibility. I'm sure it is something he will never forget. This story will tell you all about it. The author. Gordon was excited. He had heard that the Fat Controller had a special plan for him, and spent the evening in the sheds speculating. "Perhaps it's a train of important visitors," he said. "It would only be natural that a fine and important engine like me be chosen to take them." The other engines rolled their eyes. "Perhaps it will be another one of those special goods trains," chortled Henry. "You like those a lot, don't you, Gordon?" The big engine went red as everyone laughed. Edward spoke up. "I think I know what it might relate to. Isn't it nearly 80 years since your class was built?" "Goodness me, you're right," replied Gordon. "I'm a little older than that, but it would be then that my first batch of siblings came to be. Oh, the Fat Controller will certainly have something for that." Realizing this, the others stopped their teasing. It would be a grand occasion for their friend, and it felt harsh to dampen it. The Fat Controller did indeed have a plan, and shared it with Gordon the next day. As I'm sure you're aware, this year marks a significant anniversary for you, Gordon. So to celebrate it, you will be hauling a set of rail tours across the island. Not only that, you will be repainted in your original green livery. Gordon was ecstatic. He had not been green in a long time. Furthermore, continued the Fat Controller, as an extra tribute, you shall carry the name and number of your fallen brother, Great Northern. "Who was Great Northern?" asked Percy. "He was the first of my siblings," explained Gordon. "I sadly didn't get to know him well, but Flying Scotsman described him as an angel. Apparently he had a rebuild one time, and looked a little strange, but he remained the same engine." At first, Gordon was pleased with the arrangements. However, as the anniversary drew nearer, he seemed more and more unhappy. He didn't talk as much, and often came off as grumpy. The other engines were worried. "What's up with him now?" puffed James. "With what's coming up, you'd think he'd never shut up." "It is a bittersweet thing, I suppose," said Henry. "He and Scotsman are all that's left of their kind, so a celebration for them is no doubt a reminder of that." Edward thought about it. "You may be right, Henry, though I have a feeling there's a little more to it than that." "Well, why don't someone ask him?" pondered James. "We're not going to find out on our own, are we?" The others agreed, and Edward volunteered to speak with Gordon himself. That evening, Gordon puffed sulkily into the sheds. Edward had been waiting patiently for him. "Good evening," he said politely. Gordon didn't answer. "What's the matter, Gordon? Are you not looking forward to the anniversary?" Finally, he looked at the old engine. "Edward, do you think it's right on what I'm going to do?" "Whatever do you mean?" "Think about it," Gordon said. "Imagine someone went about dressed up as you, pretending to be you. Would you find that respectful?" "I don't think I'm famous enough for that to happen," chuckled Edward. "But I think you need to look at it differently. You're not pretending to be Great Northern. Everyone around you will know you're not the original engine. It's a tribute to one of your many brothers. a loving gesture to his memory, a reminder of a very different and special time in history. You won't be disrespecting him, continued Edward. It will be a way of honouring him and all your brothers. You will always be Gordon, that we all know so well. That will never change. Obviously you love your brothers. Why, of course I do, puffed Gordon. Then you shouldn't be ashamed to go through with this. You should do it with pride and care. At last, after a moment, the big engine smiled warmly. Thank you, Edward. A week later, Gordon was taken into the works to have his repaint. Other rangers took over the express for him, and were eagerly awaiting his return. At last, the big day came. A special rake of coaches had been polished and painted for the occasion. Thomas had been given the honour to bring them into the big station, as the Fat Controller knew he would handle them grandly. Only Edward and Henry had time to watch the train off. Thomas wanted to stay too, but he had to return to his branch line. I'll hopefully see him at the junction anyway, he called cheerfully. It wasn't long before they heard a long whistle in the distance, and spotted a familiar shape reversing towards them. Both engines returned the call with their own whistles, looking with awe at their friend. Gordon, the green engine, looked and felt amazing. He had been thoroughly polished, so his paint sparkled in the sunshine. He also carried a different tender, one that had been used by his brothers in England. It's a good thing I have a different shape now, whispered Henry. Otherwise people would get us mixed up again. Edward chuckled, while Gordon backed onto the coaches as a thunderous applause echoed round the station. You look marvellous, said Edward. I'm sorry I've been so grumpy, sighed Gordon. I feel silly for being so worked up in the first place. That's all right, replied Henry. It's just nice to see you in a better mood. The Fat Controller stood next to the train with a microphone. The crowd quieted down as he spoke. It is an honour to host a wonderful celebration on this island. It was 80 years ago that the world first saw one of the finest engine classes to exist. This is just as much a special day for them as it is for our dear Gordon. It was just before 80 years that my grandfather brought him to this railway for the purpose of pulling our express. A duty he has performed very well, with some hiccups here and there. This was met with a chorus of laughter. Gordon joined in, though secretly he partly wished that wasn't said. Putting those incidents aside, one thing has always been certain. Gordon has and still shows great pride, respect and love in his responsibility. Through time he has provided his strength to his fellow engines, forming many friendships which he holds dearly. Additionally, along with Flying Scotsman, he carries the legacy of his brothers into the present day and well into the future. He is truly worthy of our respect. It's indeed my pleasure, as it was for my grandfather, and my father before me, to have him be a member of this railway. The station was filled with loud claps and cheers. They were almost drowned out by long shrieks of whistles from Edward and Henry. Gordon simply smiled, taking in the endless praise. It took some time, but eventually the passengers had boarded the coaches and they could begin their journey. With a grand whistle of his own, Gordon snorted out of the station. He had a lot on his mind that day. He thought about Scotsman, about Great Northern, about the rest of his brothers that are sadly gone. There were others he thought about though. Henry, James, Thomas, Percy, Edward, and many more. Now, despite all their differences in purpose, they've been together through so much. Gordon couldn't call them his brothers, of course, but he was more than proud to call them family.